Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the Power Alley Podcast. This is Fresh, your host, and we got a lot to talk about baseball related today, a lot of excitement. Got to wrap up the College World Series, look where we are in All-Star voting, getting close to the trade deadline, the All-Star game. Baseball's humming right now with most sports done. Baseball is the only show in town until football starts, but we have a lot to talk about today. Excited, a lot of cool topics, and hope you all can keep some topics in mind idea as well. Things you want to hear about, things you want to discuss. Hit us up on social media through at Power Alley Pod or through at Spinnable Sports, or even go to inhospitalesports.com or Spinnable Sports YouTube channel. Leave some comments. Let us know what you want to hear about, things you want to discuss. We can bring those topics and take them in. Is that peak summertime, mid to late June? I think today right now is June 23rd, so we're recording on as of a Monday, getting close to that mid-July period, and it's all baseball all the time, the rest of the way. As I mentioned, I'm Fresh. You can find me on Twitter, X, whatever you want, at SS_2Fresh. The SS is for Spinnable Sports. I'm a contributor to SpinnableSports.com. You can find the Power Alley podcast on all podcast platforms, as well as the Spinnable Sports YouTube channel. In addition to being connected to SpinnableSports.com, I am a co-host of our flagship podcast, The Irrational Confidence Podcast. You can find that on Twitter and X at IR Confidence Pod. Dropping a lot of college football right now as we get prepared for the season, and we'll dive into NFL as we get closer. But hit us up on social media, hit us up, follow us any way possible through a podcast, and also as anything podcast related for our entire Spinnable Sports network at SpinnableSports.com and the Spinnable Sports YouTube channel. Baseball related Power Alley podcasting. This is episode 3 or 4. I think it's episode 4. Gone through May into June, and we've seen some shifts. Detroit Tigers, they burst out to a great lead, first to 40 in all baseball. Slowed down a little bit. They're 49-30, had a little bump of a week, lost 4 straight, finally broke that versus the Rays on Sunday. Still have an 8.5 game lead on the Cleveland Guardians there in the Central. But it feels like maybe that pack is getting back to him. Job going down, getting hurt, having some inconsistencies in the lineup. Torkelson cooled off a little bit. For the Tigers, there's Riley Green and Skubal, Meadows, Carpenter. Baez is playing well. I think they're going to, if they can keep them going, they just need to add, I think, an extra bat in the lineup as well as maybe address some of that pitching depth just to have them extra horses to go. But right now, you're in spot. You're probably going to win the division, but it's not about winning the division at this point for the Tigers. It's maintaining consistency and building up for the postseason. You can't just have Skubal out there every day. Flaherty's pitched better, but they're going to need to find some help across that entire bullpen, and maybe find one more bat at the trade deadline. We'll talk about the deadline a little bit later today. The Yankees, they've been dealing with some inconsistencies across the board, but they just keep winning. I mean, it doesn't look pretty sometimes, but the Yankees just find ways to win. Pitching staff, Rondon's been good. Freed's been good. The bullpen's been up and down. Devin Williams, I think, looks a little more settled now, which is good. But they're letting the pack hang around. The Tampa Bay Rays, I talked about in my last episode about All-Stars, undeserving players, or underrated guys trying to make the All-Star team. And I had 3 or 4 of the Rays on there. That team has been playing amazing baseball. Guys you're not going to see on the national media spotlight across the board, but they just get it done offensively, defensively. They pitch really well. It's an organizational thing. And I'll talk about that a little bit more later, about their organizational structure, where ever since Evan Longoria days where they went to the World Series, they find guys and they plug and play them. They work it through. They're not going to have all the flashy superstars of some kind, but here they are. They were 2.5 games out of first place on June 23rd, right behind the Yankees. They've passed the Red Sox. They've passed the Blue Jays. The Orioles have fallen off, but the Rays are there, and they're going to be a force. They're not fading away because they have organizational depth. They don't care about the superstar mentality. They're just delivering when it matters, and they can score at the best of them. Obviously, playing that ballpark is a lot different than when they're playing in Tropicana. The ball is going to fly outdoors in Florida in the middle of summer. It is hot. It is nasty, humid. That ball is going to take off and soar. They are crushing the home runs there. Balls are hitting the power alleys. It is going to see how that ballpark continues to play over the summer, and I expect that to continue to heat up offense for them. The Blue Jays they're 4 games back. They've had a little bump in the road this past weekend, but I think overall they're going to be okay. They losing 2 out of 3 of the White Sox is not good for your standing, but their offense overall is starting to show better, and their pitching is starting to play better. The Red Sox trading Devers there had to have been a lot more going on behind the scenes than just him not wanting to play first base or dealing with position changes and getting moved from third to DH. They have the young guys coming up in Campbell, Marcelo, Meyer, and then obviously Roman Anthony. They go out and acquire some pitching out of their pitching depth, probably will help them in the long run, but you lose a cornerstone player, very, very similar to the Mookie Betts deal. I thought Devers was going to be there forever. I'll talk more about the trade a little bit further on, but it was a shock. A team in contention, you trade your biggest bat, You get some pitching, but it's a lot of pressure on these young kids for the Red Sox to deliver and stay in the race. And it kind of smells to me as some cheap John Henry, Fenway Sports Group kind of stuff where we're going to reduce payroll and play a bunch of young guys and spend money on soccer, which, hey, I'm a Liverpool fan. Spend the money on Liverpool. I'm cool with that. But if you're sacrificing your prime product, you have Liverpool and you have Boston Red Sox, two iconic franchises in world sports. You got to, keep both. And I think the only strategy that can make sense to trade Devers is there's a lot of influx up in between management and himself, and it's a way for them to save money while Liverpool's run it and while the young guys develop, and then when the young guys are ready, then probably spend again heavily to sort of pick up a player here, a player there, and make a run. So we'll see how it works out for the Red Sox. But that definitely shook up the world and gave the Giants a major lineup boost. I talked about the AL West being all open, just a complete mess down the street. You're going to have a complete wide open race. Since that last episode, the Astros have gained some serious ground. They've been playing real well. 7-3 in their last 10. They are now 5 games up on the Mariners, 7 up on the Rangers, and 7.5 up on the Angels. I still have doubts about the Astros pitching staff, but that lineup is playing. Cam Smith is out there producing as a rookie in right field. Jeremy Pena has been absolute beast. And Walker and Yonder Alonso, they haven't had to be superstar bats. They're consistent, but they're not mashing. But the team is just producing left and right as a whole, and it's helping out a pitching staff that I think is going to need to step its game up when the games get deeper down into late July, into August, September, obviously. So right now they're pitching well. Can they withhold that? Can they find an extra arm down the stretch outside of Hunter Brown to really carry the Astros forward? We'll see. But right now I think the ALS is still going to be wide open. The Mariners showing some life, especially with Cal Raleigh. The Rangers, I'm just waiting for y'all to go. You're 2 games under 500, but you're plus 16. You're 23-16 at home, but 15-24 on the road. Got to find a way to pick up those road stretches. Lost a couple versus the Pirates this past weekend that obviously really beat you down. Like, it was just those are the series you have to have if you want to be in a race. So the Rangers, someone's got to click. That hitting over top to bottom. Seager's not hitting consistently. Dallas Garcia's not hitting consistently. You're not seeing Marcus Semien hit consistently. Wyatt Langford, Evan Carter, where are the big bats for the Rangers to get going? And right now we're about halfway through the season. I think most teams right now about between 78 and 81 games total played. The sample size is pretty strong right now. The Rangers offense, there's a problem there. I know Brett Boone's the new hitting coach, been there for about a month maybe or 6 weeks, somewhere in there. That Rangers team's got to start showing up offensively, especially in that ballpark, because they have DeGrom at the top. They have Evaldi coming back. They have Molly. The pitching staff is solid. They need to start driving in some runs to help up that pitching staff, because that pitching staff, I think overall, last time we mentioned, was best team ERA. They got to start supporting each other and playing a little better. So look for Bochy to make some moves along with that front office to address that offense for the Rangers. And while we're looking at the Angels, Ron Washington, you're a great guy. You can manage, you can coach baseball. Prayers up to you, sir. Hopefully you get better real soon. I know you're taking an absence right now for some health reasons. All prayers to you. Please recover quickly and get the Angels back out and get back out there in the dugout for the Angels very, very soon. National League, are the Mets back to earth? They sprinted out to a massive lead. Right now they are in second place, a game behind the Phillies. That pitching staff is starting to get beat up. Kodai Senga, there's no real exact timeline. I think he's probably going to come back after the All-Star break, which is about 3 weeks away. But that offense has been okay. Alonso's kind of cooled off. Nimmo Lindor playing okay. Soto he's not hitting the home runs as everyone would expect contract, but still, if you put his numbers against anyone else, he's actually producing, but it's not the numbers that match a massive contract. So if he starts getting stuff going, help picking up Alonso down the stretch. Right now, that pitching staff is hurting the Mets, and it might come back to bite them big time. They do have a 10-game buffer on the Atlanta Braves, who went through I talked about 2 episodes ago what they had to do. They are now 6 games under 500. They're 22-15 at home. They're 13-26 on the road. They've got to figure that out. That's 1, 2, or 3. They played well against the Brewers, and they're a plus 25 run differential. But the Braves the bullpen is terrible. And that bullpen, Bryce Elder pitched terrible versus the Marlins. The bullpen blew it again. They lose 2 or 3 of the Marlins this past weekend. That's it. At some point, that has got to answer for it. This week, they have the Phillies and the Mets. And if they can't 3-3 this week, or 4-3 this week, and make up some ground on the teams ahead of them, they're probably out of the wild card and division. I think they're out of the division race no matter what, but they're out of the wild card conversation because you start falling farther behind at 35 and 41. It eventually people are gonna get demoralized. And that lineup, Matt Olson going 1 for 13, I think, in the series versus the Marlins, horrendous. Albies is showing some flash, but right now it feels like it's Acuna Jr. and it's Austin Riley and then Drake Baldwin, and that's it. There's got to be more guys in the Braves lineup to step it up. Nationals, on the other hand, this is where the fun part is. You didn't have much expectations from the Nationals, but James Wood and Mackenzie Gore are absolute studs. C.J. Abrams been okay, but James Wood deserves to go to the All-Star game. So does Mackenzie Gore. They should be locked for the Nationals. The Nats should have two guys in Atlanta. And they're 32 and 46. They're 15 games back out of first place. They are just, I think we all knew they weren't going to be a playoff team, but they're actually more entertaining. They're showing some life at times. They're minus 73 run differential, so there is some pitching deficiencies, but James Wood's worth the price of admission. Mackenzie Gore's worth the price of admission. And they're that kind of pesky team that will get you. Same thing with the Marlins. They got a lot of young guys. The AAA team here, the Jacksonville Jumbo Shrimp, they won the first half, so they're going to the playoffs for the first time in a long, long time. So the minor league system's looking good for the Marlins, but they have a lot of their top prospects playing for them right now. Because why not? Get the young guys up and play. Augustine Ramirez, really cool. Stour in left field, playing pretty well. Xavier Edwards at shortstop. They got a lot of guys who you're not going to really know unless you're a fancy baseball player, but they let them all play together, let them develop. And then Sandy Alcantara as the starting pitcher, starting to turn a corner. I'll talk more about him later, but he's starting to turn the corner. And it's going to make an interesting decision for the Marlins because the value now is starting to really return. Maybe is he starting to shape back into form of that 2022, 2023, late 21, mostly 2022, Sandy Alcantara, and really gets back to become a dominant ace to lead that team. And maybe do they want to build the franchise around him or trade him for more value? We shall see here soon. Cubs had a little bit of a struggling week. They definitely did not look good versus the Mariners this past weekend. Gave up some ground. I went 5-5 over the last week, lost, and the Brewers went 7-3 and won the four straight. Cubs are only 3.5 up on the Brewers. They're 4.5 up on the Cardinals. They have a Cubs-Cardinals series this week, and they're 6.5 up on the Reds. So, but the Cubs thought they had the division wrapped up early. There's 3 teams that are lingering within 7 games with a long way to go. That could make things interesting if they don't address some of that pitching use, especially in the bullpen. And as a Brewers fan, I hope you don't sign Kyle Tucker, but him and Suzuki and PCA, they got 3 solid bats in the lineup along with Nico and Dansby Swanson. They're finding ways to win offensively. This team is plus 96 run differential. They score 417 runs, which is second in the National League behind the Dodgers. The pitching staff could be their downfall. They have decent splits. They're 25-15 in Wrigley. They're 21-16 away. But I think they just need something else. Shota is supposed to come back this week, but losing Justin Steele, that pitching staff on top of it, they just need something. And the bullpen hasn't been elite yet. So we'll see how the Cubs played out. Brewers on a amazing stretch. They scored 42 runs in the past 4 days. They're on a 4-game winning streak, 7-3 in their last 10. Jacob Mizorowski's pitching well. Yelich the dude had 8 RBIs, didn't score a run, and didn't hit a home run. Was absolutely just tortured on Friday night with the Twins. They're starting to hit the ball a bit more, but Churio, I think me more from Jackson Churio. Some of the guys get healthy in that team. Sal Frelick's playing well. Bryce Terang. Contreras not hitting like he was the past 2 years, so there's still potential for this team to even deliver more offense down the stretch, but they're going to need that, and they're going to need the bullpen's been exhausted all year. They need some length from the starters, so whether it's Mizorowski, Priester, Freddie Peralta, or Quintana, they're going to need these starters to really start developing a 6, maybe trying to get in the 7th inning every once in a while to save that bullpen because it's great now, but if you get that bullpen exhausted by the time you get October, you're done. The Cardinals have come back a little bit to the pack. It's still a very dangerous team, 42-36. They're plus 34 run differential, 24-15 at home, 18-21 on the road. This is a big series. The first time the Cubs and Cardinals have met will happen this week. They can get themselves back in the race, or they might get some distance from that playoff spot, and then it brings in the Nolan Arenado conversation. Michaelis and Sonny Gray, they have no trade clauses, so don't know if that's actually if they're going to waive those and want to get dealt. Nolan Arenado is probably the same way. It's going to have to be a perfect situation. But it comes from the Cardinals of their minor league system is depleted. They don't spend much money historically. How do they go forward with this? Do they trade Gray if they fall kind of out of the wild card? Because at some point, if you're a rebuilding franchise, do you want the wild card? Is that really worth it? Or do you want the next 5 to 6 to 7 years of development depth and try to strike while you're hot? We'll see what the Cardinals do, but I have a feeling if they fall out of the race, Arenado's too good of a player And there are teams like the Yankees or even the Cardinals, or even the Cubs, excuse me, that could use a third baseman to really make a big push for a deep playoff run. The Reds, they've got some young pitching. Abbott's been absolutely dominant the past 5 or 6 starts, an ERA under 2, I believe. The Reds offense can get going. The Reds bullpen can find a way to step it up. I think the Reds will make a run for the playoff spot. They're 40-38. They're above 500. Right there, folks. That's 4 teams in the NL Central that are above 500. Very similar to the NL West. Those two divisions both have 4 teams over 500 right now, which is pretty impressive. But if the Reds are, it's like they win one, they're 5-5 in their last 10. They win one, they lose one, they win one. They always can't get out of their way. So what kind of Reds team will see the rest of the season? And can anyone other really join Dela Cruz and make a big push? Dodgers are dominant, but they're 3.5 up on the Giants. The Padres have had some injuries, so they're kind of down to 5. And the Diamondbacks, now 8 games back of the Dodgers, 39-38, -3 run differential. You have the Corbin Burns injury, and now you have Corbin Carroll going to Chicago for an arm or wrist review. Very, very scary from that perspective. You lose your best offensive player, and you lose your best pitcher. Merrill Kelly, Zach Guyon hasn't pitched as great this year. The bullpen already has some injuries with Martinez getting a Tommy John. It just feels like the injuries are going to catch up with the Diamondbacks. Team's going to fade. That put Eugenio Suarez on the trade market as we move forward and wave the white flag from a playoff spot with all these injuries and just really trying to find it. So we'll see what happens with the Diamondbacks, but they are definitely facing an uphill battle. And then there's the Rockies, who are -202 run differential. And to put that in perspective, folks, the Rockies are -202, and they're 18-60. The Pirates are 31-48, -61. The Marlins are 31-45, they're -90. And the Nationals are 32-46, and they're -73. There's 112 runs differential between the Marlins and the Rockies in a negative perspective. Like, that is just mind blowing. But that's the National League. The Dodgers, though, I'm still worried about. Even Tyler Glasnow's pitching. What Blake Snell, what's his status is still unknown. The pitching might catch the Dodgers, but Kershaw's pitched well. Dustin May's got to step it up if the Dodgers really want to keep moving forward, because that bullpen is getting stretched right now. He's pitched 2 starts, 2 1-inning outings. Folks, he's not going to be the starter. He's not going to go 6 or 7 innings yet. Maybe not even until October, if that's even the case. Right now, he's only doing an inning because it's basically a rehab start. They can't send him down. If they send him down, it means he's not in the lineup. They got to keep him in the lineup. So he's going to do a lot of back bullpen work, do simulated games on off days, simulated games to get the lather going, work that way without having really too many live hitters outside of his own team, and then pitching an inning as an opener, and then going from there until he feels his arm strength and his command is really gotten speed. Let him do it. It's going to be an occasional thing you're going to see here and there. Eventually, he'll get it going. Don't worry about the ERA. Don't worry about his control. Over time, that will get there. Guy hasn't thrown a pitch since 2023. It's 2020. Because if he does, that puts the Dodgers at least in a safe space. They have an extra pitcher to work with. But right now, the pitching staff is beat up, especially in the bullpen and the starting rotation. Especially in the starting rotation compared to the bullpen. You've had a lot of those starters who they relied on. They're beat up. They're injured. The bullpen's getting taxed because of that lack of starting pitching and lack of depth. So you're going to hurt yourself both ways. Let Shohei do an inning or 2. But eventually, for the Dodgers' sake, they need to find an extra starter if Snell's not coming back and Glasnow's not coming back anytime soon. And Kershaw is putting everything out there. How much does he have left in the tank down the stretch for the Dodgers? The offense is fantastic, but you're going to need pitching in the playoffs. And will that depth catch up with them at some point? Speaking of playoffs and trade deadlines and our teams trying to get there, it comes to the end of July, so we got about 5 or 6, we've got to say 5 weeks to the trade deadline. Diamondbacks. Perdomo you just give a long-term deal to. Lawler's your top prospect at shortstop. Perdomo can play third. If you're out of it, Eugenio Suarez, absolute machine. I think it's 24 home runs so far right now. Third base, DH. There's a third base depth issues at some of these potential playoff teams. DH is always a spot. Sometimes you got to be honest with yourselves. Maybe we have to deal him. You trade him, get some value back in your minor league system, let the young guys play, acknowledge you're out of the race. So we'll see how that plays out. But with the Corbin Carroll, I think that's going to be the biggest deal. Because Hel Marte has been injury prone. If you lose him, you already have pitching concerns with depth issues. At some point, you just got to understand. All right, maybe we wave our white flag, trade him, get a prospect or 2, help replenish our minor league system, and let him go win a title, or at least have a chance to win a title somewhere else. Another hot topic: Sandy Alcantara. Last 4 starts, 23 innings pitched, 18 hits allowed, 7 earned runs, 19 strikeouts, 5 walks, ERA of 2.75. All 4 starts have been a quality start. That's 6 innings. That's at least pitching pretty well. 3 runs or less in every single start. He's had much more effective command in the month of June than he did in May, March, or April. He hadn't thrown a pitch since 2023. I think it's finally starting to get that groove back, starting to feel the command. Early on, I think it was just, all right, trusting his arm, trusting his stuff, getting that feel back on the mound. But you're starting to see it come back. Leaves the Marlins with a major decision. If that value continues to increase, team control, do you put him on the market and get a haul? I mean, if he's out there, and pitching right now is always a main thing, and for the years, probably maybe 1 or 2 years, maybe with team control, and have a chance to sign long term, you can get yourself a haul and really build a team and just continue to layer that organization and build from that philosophy. Or you keep playing it out and let him be a Marlin and let him just really dominate and let him build and play with the young guys that maybe have a chance to contend. This is an organizational decision right now for the Marlins, because if you keep him around, he reminds me of just the ace that I think Jose Fernandez was going to be until that tragic accident. Every fifth day you knew when he hit the bump in Miami, like that was a win day, and there was no one going to be touching him. That's a big decision. You build a team around him. You let the younger guys who are all developing at different positions, if they all grow up together at once, then the Marlins are a contender, or at least in that fringe argument. If it's all homegrown talent, all controlled, you have at least 2 to 3 years you can work to on a manageable budget. Or do you dump him, continue to build that minor league system, and get 3 or 4 guys for one? So now you have a much more robust development system for one player, and you're not going to be able to pay for anyway. So I just think that there's going to get an offer too good. And if I'm the Marlins, you ask for the moon. You do not shortchange. If you're not getting a great deal, you don't have to trade him. But if someone like the Dodgers or the Yankees or the Cubs come a-calling and they have a loaded minor league system, or even maybe I don't think the Phillies have it. The Mets, but the Mets probably, they would have to. They have to throw in probably a major league player. But if someone comes a-calling with a massive, massive deal, you got to be real with yourselves. And all right, I can get 3 to 4 potential major league players, whether starters, relief pitchers, or everyday players, for one. And I can control basically all the contracts, keep them within our own budget, and have them all play together, maybe compete that way. What's the philosophy of the Marlins? If I'm them, I see a great deal. You don't know if he's going to fully recover, but he's pitching well now. Trade while the market is hot and roll from there. Especially with more teams in the playoffs available, it keeps that market open a little bit longer for a lot more teams to be involved. The off season's one thing, winter meetings, but I think right now you push someone's desperation button during the trade deadline to make a deal to go try to win a championship. One last kind of guy that I have, it's just a name to keep on the radar. Buxton has a history of injuries, but this year he is absolutely raking. He is healthy. He's playing fantastic in center field defensively. He's an offensive monster. Had him on a offensive team, so yeah, he's pretty good. The Twins are 11 games out of first in the AL wildcard race. Do they have it all to get there? You're 2.5 out of the final wildcard. Is that as of June 23rd? If that changes by July 23rd, do you look at Buxton as your franchise player, or do you say, hey, he's had health issues. This is probably the highest value we're going to get for him. Do we trade him, try to keep our minor league system built, and understand that our window might have closed from that perspective of him and Correa and Royce Lewis? Again, Royce Lewis hurt. Correa always hurt. Buxton, you have a hot moment where he's actually healthy. Do you try to maximize that, or do you say, hey, we're going to play with what we got? Because the Twins have been passed. The Guardians are really, really good. The Tigers have passed them. I think the Royals have some pitching issues with some injuries with Cole Ragans, but with, I think, Caglione and Witt down there, that team, they're right there with you. So you have to be honest with yourselves. If you're not going to spend tons of money on everybody, you got to realize what you are. And if you have a chance to really bring in a haul for a veteran player who has been a great Twin, but reward him for being honest with you, it might be a decision the Twins have to make here sooner than later. We'll talk more about the trade deadline as we get closer in mid-July and where the standings are and really what other names are popping. Especially, you'll see a lot of relief pitchers starting pitching becomes a big, big thing. And then what other veteran players might be good fits as a fourth outfielder or third outfielder or a utility infielder who, come playoff time, you need that veteran presence to dugout. Transitioning from major leagues to college baseball. College World Series wrapped up yesterday. Props to LSU. You win your second national title in 3 years. Just your eighth overall. They just dominated. It was all just straight LSU pitching. It was just they're a machine. Jay Johnson, you did it. Anderson, I think he was a top 5 pick. He might have supplanted himself as the number 2 overall pick in the draft. And I'll talk more about the draft a little bit later in today's episode. But his, first of all, being a lefty, having that movement, having that control. I'm not saying he's Paul Skeens, but he's pretty good. And I think that was the way he showed up with the pressure in the postseason, especially in Omaha, to get it done. That just shows you a mental makeup of a pitcher that you need. Big time here for Cade. The reason the player of the College World Series, the MVP, and that complete game he dealt in game 1 of the final series versus Coastal. I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about Gage Wood of Arkansas. He kind of set the stage for pitching. Complete game, no hitter, 19 strikeouts, third College World Series no hitter, first one in 65 years. Murray State 0-2 barbecue, a fantastic run, very magical. It's kind of sad that it ended that way, that you're on the other end of history. But that was just being down 0-1 after losing to LSU. You come out there in game 2, elimination game, and you just dealt. Absolutely fantastic for Gage. It probably boosts his draft stock here coming into the MLB Draft if they're in the All-Star break in July. But that's just a really cool experience. It's something that you never know what you're going to see when you go to the ballpark. And that was one thing. It's not just a no-hitter. It was 19 strikeouts out of the 27 outs. Like, he was just locked in against a mid-major offense who had been playing on luck and been playing really well. They took care of Georgia Tech. They took care of Ole Miss. They took care of Duke. They found a whole different kind of thing when they met Gage Wood. And that just shows you there's tiers in pitching in college baseball where if you got some studs, it doesn't matter who the other side of the lineup is. Like, sometimes they're just in trouble. Arkansas also had some other accolades. Weewa Loy won the Golden Spikes Award. He was a shortstop for the Razorbacks. Cool, best player in college baseball that award goes to. So really great experience there. Arkansas getting a lot of individual accomplishments, but their team, if you think you're cursed in Omaha and Arkansas Razorback baseball, they have a serious relationship issue. Those poor guys a couple of years ago had the final out wrapped up and just couldn't close it out, lose there in the championship. Then you get the ball hit to the left fielder. You have a lead. He slips, ball bounces off him. It just launches himself down in the corner. LSU played some runs and then gets the walk-off where I was listening to some radio and watching some broadcasts, and you watch it where the game-winning hit, when the ball is going over the second baseman's glove, if it doesn't hit his glove, it probably doesn't it won't slow down the velocity and might get to the center fielder who's charging a little quicker to have a scoop and a throw to the plate because the catcher for LSU was running. But because the ball hit the glove, it obviously, the mile per hour, the MPH of that velocity of that ball slows down. So then it gives just an extra step for that catcher to make that to round third and to score. You wonder if that ball is in his glove, does the center fielder get the ball quicker and be able to launch the ball home and nail the runner and keep the game going? It's a big what-if game. But our Arkansas fans, I feel for you, but they have a very painful experience in Omaha. They're a good baseball program, as you can see from Gage Wood and Aloy I already mentioned. They have some bad luck. They have a curse in Omaha that one of these days they're going to break, and they're going to win a title. And it's going to be really, really cool to see them get it done. But right now, the memories were individual memories in Omaha for the Razorbacks, and the team thing is still out there and outstanding. You got to give props to Coastal Carolina. They won a title about 10 years ago and hadn't lost a game since April 22nd. And they were just rolling until they met LSU in the championship series. Their offense, though, I think it reared its ugly head. If you look up their stats for runners in scoring position and runners left on base, it was pretty putrid. They were pretty terrible. They just couldn't drive in runs. They get guys on. They couldn't find the consistent clutch hits. And they only had one home run in the entire tournament. So they were definitely pitching in the Sun Belt, carried Coastal, pitching through the regional and super regional, carried Coastal. The offense was timely, but they didn't have the boppers show up when they needed to. And to play for the championship still a way that shows you how disciplined they were, how they ran well on the base paths. They were great defensively at all positions. They pitched well. They did everything well except the offense just when it needed it most in that final series, he couldn't get him over the hump versus LSU and their great pitching that they brought out there. But Coastal Carolina, an amazing baseball program. Side note, absolutely gutted for your coach and your first base coach. That nonsense from the umpire in the first inning, horrific. That should be a suspension for the umpire and not throwing you and your first base coach out. That was terrible and inexcusable, especially in a national championship game. Game two, first inning, a quick trigger. That shame on you, shame. Like that was terrible, and it kind of ruined the entire environment of the game, ruined the vibe. You lose your first base coach, you lose your manager right off the bat before even recording two outs, and in the first inning, brutal. So Coastal, I feel for you. All in all, though, great, amazing season. And look at college baseball. This College World Series, having so many different conferences represented, it shows you the transfer portal. It creates parity, but baseball is chaos. It is a lot more chaos than college basketball, a lot more chaos than college football, where you get these teams. You just got to play baseball. You have to field ground balls. You got to pitch. You work your counts, clutch hits, metal bats. Things happen. Relief pitchers, if they had enough rest or not. How far do you get in the bullpen? That's where some of that chaos comes from. And we saw a lot of it during the tournament this past year. And it's only going to get better and better now that they have that $20 million house settlement where some of these programs, like I'm going to invest more money in my baseball program or my softball team. We're going to make a run for a championship. For a football team, it's probably not going to get us there. Or a basketball team, we kind of understand who we are. I'm going to go give money to baseball. And now they have more scholarships for baseball. You're seeing funding going from boosters to these baseball and softball programs, and these facilities are growing. The game, that's the next end. Basketball and football are there, and they're always going to be there. But college baseball and college softball are the two next that are going to really continue to keep growing in viewership, growing in attendance, growing in funding, growing in sponsorship. And it's only going to become much more respectable as we move forward year in and year out. Now, kind of looking with LSU's national championship, I'm going to be a little of a homer, and you're going to probably get really irritated with me, but hey, I have the mic. I'm going to talk. I'm not an SEC homer, but you got to give some rep of the conference and what they really do. As a Georgia fan, it's painful to see my rivals win national championships. Going to make that up. It's very, very tough to see LSU or a Florida or South Carolina or a Vanderbilt or a Tennessee win a title. But it has to be something said about the level of play in those leagues. And this is in a short window. The SEC has now won 6 straight national championships, and they've won 7 of the last 8. Going back to 2000, LSU has 4 national championships since 2000 and 2 of the last 3. The SEC has played in the championship series of the College World Series 19 of the last 25 seasons. And 5 of those times, it was SEC versus SEC. When you hear people chant SEC, SEC, or it means more, it's not just because of football. It's because of basketball. It's because of baseball. It's because of softball. It's because of track and field. It's because of tennis. Look up all the national championships the conference has won. It is a prolonged dominance. And that's where that arrogance comes from. There is just a very consistent, long history of success and titles. The SEC has won 12 natties since 2000 across 7 different programs. 10 different SEC programs have played for a national championship since 2000. That does not include Texas or Oklahoma because they were not in the league. Those are Big 12 teams. If you even want to go farther back, we'll take it back to 1990. Add 5 more national championships, 4 for LSU and 1 for Georgia. Georgia won the first SEC national championship, and that was back in 1990. The Pac-12 still has the most national championships at 18. That league obviously didn't exist really last year. They're kind of trying to reform and get back, but it's not the same. They have 18. The SEC has 17. The SEC has 17 national championships since 1990. College baseball runs through the South. Now, the Big 12, the ACC is a lot, but the ACC only has 2 national titles. One, thanks to Virginia in 2015, and Wake Forest had one in 1955. Florida State, North Carolina, and Georgia Tech, they have, and Clemson, had tremendous baseball programs. Even NC State, an amazing baseball program. Duke, really good. Wake had a couple good years the past 2, but it's again, college baseball is weird. They have great programs. Florida State has been to 61 regionals and been to 24 College World Series and doesn't have a national title. Them and Arkansas are cursed when it gets to Omaha. So there was prolonged tremendous success, just finding a way to get it done when you're there and getting the right hits and advocates done. So national championships are one, but playing for titles, having a lot of success is another. But the ACC, I think, is still, as it currently stands, the second best baseball conference, but they just haven't been able to capture that national championship consistently recently. And usually it's because they're playing somebody from the SEC. But the Pac-12, losing UCLA, Oregon State had a couple early that now they are independent, but they're still going to be back in the Pac-12 when they get the Midwest, the Mountain West teams over there in a couple of years. But losing UCLA and USC is going to hurt the Pac-12 from winning a national title because it's all going to then follow. It's all going to fall on Oregon State to hold that and keep it going. We'll see how it plays out. But baseball, absolute chaos across the board. One last thing before I wrap it up. The Big Ten was very smart. Everyone thinks about football. Oh, we got Oregon, Washington, UCLA, and USC. They went out and grabbed UCLA and USC and Oregon to help with baseball. So their involvement now is just how can they take the rest of that conference and get those rest of those teams up. Michigan is the last Big Ten program to play for a national title in baseball. If they can start funding some of those other programs, Nebraska is a historically good ball team. Indiana's had some success. There should be make a movement. I know it's tough to play in the winter. You're indoors for most of the time. But if some of those programs actually could invest a little bit more in baseball, keep some of those kids home, you might be able to see some success from the Big Ten. But that's a wrap on college baseball. That is actually also a wrap on college sports for the 24-25 season. Next up, we got a couple months until college football kicks off, but this is that lull period where it's all about Major League Baseball going forward. Not just Major League Baseball, but minor league baseball. We're going to hop down to the farm real quick. And actually, we're going to talk about the guys who've just recently been called up from the farm to the majors. And a lot of top prospects right now are lighting it up across the board. Jacob Misiorowski called up by the Brewers about a week and a half ago. No hits in his first 11 innings pitched. He did not allow a hit in his first 11 innings pitched. That is an MLB record. He went perfect into the 7th inning in his second career start versus the Twins on Friday night, this past Friday. Per OptaStats, the only big leaguer since 1900 to have more wins than hits allowed in his first 2 career starts. He has 2 wins and 1 hit allowed so far. His third career start will be versus Paul Skeens on June 25th in American Family Field. Got a feeling that's going to be a very, very hot ticket on a Wednesday afternoon in Milwaukee. Roman Anthony, now up in Boston. I mean, the kid can play. Keep it going. He's now the face of the franchise. If he can keep going, Campbell just got sent down, but then Marcelo Meyer, play with the young guys, keep growing. The Red Sox keep themselves involved. Christian Moore with the Angels was just drafted last year off Tennessee's national championship team, called up by the Angels. His first hit was in New York City. He's from New York City. He hit it in Yankee Stadium. Those are the moments like they're cool, and it really hits you home. Yeah, he went to Tennessee, but the dude can play, and having that special situation of getting your first career hit basically in your hometown, as probably growing up a Yankees fan, that's something you want to take home. And Jack Cagliano's starting to really get comfortable for the Royals. I think he's going to start settling that lineup. Him and Witt are going to become the cornerstones for them. He gets that back going, gets hot down the stretch. It's going to help the Royals stay in the race. Kurtz for the Athletics got called up. Big-time left-handed bat from out first base. 10 home runs in the first 40. He has a .507 slug to lead the Athletics right now. Considering the bop they have on that team, leading the team with .507 slug means the kid can match. The White Sox just call it catcher Kyle Teal. He's starting to settle in, getting the pitching staff all settled in, starting to hit a little bit. Great there. Keep that development. And as of this week, right now, Chase Burns getting called up by the Reds. He's the 11th overall prospect per MLB.com, starting pitcher, and getting that Reds rotation, see if he can give them a little boost and carry them forward. And if the Pirates, their pitching staff's showing some success right now. You're starting to see some guys pitching well, but if they really if they can get their bats going, their offense going, maybe down the stretch, you see Bubba Chandler, who's the number 2 overall prospect right now per MLB.com, him get the nod and called up. If he can get up there and that team can start scoring some runs, right now Paul Skeens gets 0 run support, they can make some noise. But it just shows that maybe there is a structure for the Pirates if they can get the offense going. And I think the key Brian Hayes, his bat not showing up and getting a long-term deal is really hurting the Pirates right now. O'Neal Cruz, he can hit a lot of Cruz vessels, but he strikes out a lot. Get more consistent from him. Brian Reynolds not playing like he has normally with the bat. If the offense just letting him down, and it's brutal. So if they have the pitching in Pittsburgh. If they can get some of the offense going, this team might be able to contend in about 2026, 2027, but make some noise down the stretch. Those guys right now, all big bunch of prospects keep an eye on who are dominating early. And it kind of comes full circle now. We're going to talk about the draft. We kind of wrapped the college baseball season. We're kind of midway through the MLB season. The MLB Draft, now they do it during the All-Star break, which I think is really cool. It'll be done in Atlanta during the All-Star weekend. It's very pitching and shortstop heavy early in the draft. 8 of the top 13 prospects, according to MLB.com, are shortstops. Now, you're probably thinking, well, that's a lot of shortstops. Shortstops are athletes. You're going to see a lot of it where shortstops can go play second, they can go play third, potentially they can be outfielders. It's guys who have athletic ability. And if you're looking to develop a player, especially a couple of these being high schoolers, they naturally, your best player is going to be playing shortstop in high school. And then as they get older, you move them around, use that flexibility, that athletic ability, that speed. That can be developed. So don't just freak out that there's just a lot of shortstops. They naturally, maybe, but it'll come from there. Your top 10 draft picks in order. Nationals are first, Angels, Mariners, Rockies, Cardinals, Pirates, Marlins, Blue Jays, Reds, and White Sox. I'm going to say it right now. Nationals need some pitching help. But the best player in this draft is Ethan Holliday. Jackson Holliday's little brother, Mark Holliday's son. The kid's a shortstop, third baseman. The kid can rake. He's in high school. You can't pass the player up. So I think the Nationals are going to go on Holliday at number 1. Angels desperately need starting pitching. Cade Anderson sitting right there. You might want to lock him in. Mariners probably need some offense. So the Mariners are the one to watch out for. Their pitching staff right now is good. Their offense is struggling. I wouldn't be shocked if they went at bat and passed up on some of the pitching. The Rockies, you have to develop your own pitching. You do not need any more mashers. You need to find pitchers and develop them. This pick is extremely essential. You had Charlie Condon last year as a bopper, third base, left field, DH. He'll be a bat. He'll hit fine in Colorado. You need to look for a pitcher in this draft who is either a high strikeout rate or a high ground ball rate. You don't want a fly ball pitcher. You need to develop your pitching staff. You need to go, your first 5 picks should be pitchers, but you need to get guys who are able to fit and pitch to Coors Field. You can't sign free agents to pitch. You need to draft to pitch. So you need to look. Do I go Doyle? Do I go Jamie Arnold out of Florida State? Do I go Witherspoon out of Oklahoma? But you got to find a pitcher who, number one, isn't 5 years away. The high school pitchers, don't take a high school pitcher. You need a college guy who can get up on the mound in the next 2 years and be able to at least be your number 2 starter and help that pitching staff out. Sensatella is done. Herman is getting older. Freeland's getting older. You need somebody, a pitching perspective, to take the mound every 5th day, and the team has confidence that the guys can actually pitch. So you can't mess this up. There's a bunch of pitchers. You have the 4th overall pick, but make sure the guy actually can pitch in Coors Field. Ground ball, high strikeout rate. That's what you need to look at. Do not go with people are like, why'd they pass on that guy? Well, if he's a high fly ball rate, his ERA is going to be 30,000 pitching for the Rockies. You've got to find a guy who, doing through the metrics, doing through the analytics, whose game pitches to the ballpark. Cardinals right after that can go any way you want. Pirates right after that, any way you want. Marlins, historically they go pitching. And then you have the Blue Jays, Reds, and White Sox. So we'll see how the top 10 plays out. But the draft right now, there's a lot of good college talent, and I think we're seeing a lot more elite college players getting their calls up early. Because if they can come in from college, they can produce real quick in the minors. Getting guys to the major leagues faster is going to help Major League Baseball's problem of identifying these younger players quicker. We had this whole thing about, they got to sit in the minors for 3 to 5 years. No, they don't. I don't care about the only teams that should really be worrying about starting their clock on their contract and their service time are the small market teams, because they can't afford to play all the big guys. They've got to maximize that and try to hold that back. I get it. But if you're a team that has the money to spend and you're desperate for a player, or you need the player to get there now, just play him. Just play him. See what they got. Instead of holding them around for a little bit longer, you have to deal with frustration and the guy doesn't want to be there for a while. If you let him play early, you might actually build a rapport to keep the guy around. Look, Paul Skeens, if they kept him in the minor leagues, the minor league ballparks would be making the money. Pirates would still be stinking. And you're only kicking the can down the road. Eventually, animosity builds in, and the guy doesn't want to be there. So get the guys up there if they're elite. Let them play. Names to remember in the draft as you go forward. I mentioned Ethan Holliday, Cade Anderson, big lefty from LSU, Jamie Arnold, a lefty from Florida State, Kyson Witherspoon, right-handed pitcher from Oklahoma. Kid was a stud. Oklahoma baseball, they went through an NCAA tournament for a reason, but this kid was the number 1 starter in my opinion. Absolute beast. Avaya, shortstop, Oregon State. Liam Doyle, left-handed pitcher from Tennessee. A little volatile, has a little energy to him, a little bold, a little brash, but sometimes to me that is a bulldog out there on the mound to go out there and attack. So interesting to see where he goes. Jace Laviette, the Texas A&M, outfielder, DH, had some injuries late last year, so if he's fully healthy, I think you just let him rest and see how he responds to that. Ike Irish from Auburn, catcher, outfielder. Luke Stevenson, catcher from North Carolina. We talked about Weal Aloy from the shortstop from Arkansas. Zach Root, left-handed pitcher from Arkansas. Gage Wood, right-handed pitcher from Arkansas. Alex Lodis, the shortstop from Florida State, very, very good player. And Anthony Ianson from LSU. He started game two. He was also in the shadow of Cade, but he's just as good from the right side, not the left. I think a late first round, early second round competitive balance pick, but Ianson could be a sleeper pick for anyone who's drafting, especially an LSU Tiger who can play. As we wrap up here in June, I like to go to my baseball movie of the week. We're getting close to 4th of July. And there's just one movie about baseball when the 4th of July comes into play, and that's The Sandlot. The Sandlot resonates with so many people, and especially resonates with me. It's kids playing baseball. It's still a game. It's fun. The entire kid moves to town, meets up with a bunch of other kids, becomes friends, not at school, but because he's playing baseball. Gets a chance to be noticed by people in the neighborhood, and they all just grow to have fun. They're out there playing for the fun, the joy of it, on a makeshift dirt field out near some junkyard. You have the fun story about the dog. It's just being a kid, and it kind of brings you back to that moment of life where things didn't mean as much. You didn't have to be so serious. Obviously, early 60s, late 50s when the movie takes place, so you don't have social media, you don't have the nonsense, the distractions. Kids are out till the lights come on, just playing. And you have the fun stuff about going to the pool and Wendy Peppercorn. It's a coming of age child having fun, being a kid. What the game is all about, it's baseball. And the funny stuff that happens, the lines, "You're killing me, Smalls," all those different things, it hits. And I think everybody can connect to that movie and just seeing how the movie plays out, how it starts, and the very end where the kid becomes the radio announcer for the Dodgers, and then Benny the Jet is there playing for the Dodgers and steals home, and the two best friends kind of have that moment as kids, and then they're adults, and it's the same. It's baseball. It's just the Sandlot will never get old. It will be a classic, and I think that will be one of top 5 baseball movies of all time. Maybe even top 3 because it resonates from everybody. And then obviously the reason why I connect it with 4th of July is there's the scene where they play one night game a year, and it's on 4th of July because all the fireworks in the neighborhood, all the fireworks in the city are all going off, and they're not really playing except for Benny. Benny hits the ball, he's running the bases, the kids are watching the fireworks, grabbing hot dogs off the street picnic. It's Americana, it's fun, it's simple, and that is what baseball is. It's a fun kids game that adults get to play and get paid for. If you haven't seen it, check it out, watch it. You won't miss a thing. Now we're going to make a mound visit. Our voting, we talked about the All-Star game in Atlanta. It's currently wide open. You can bet a vote up 5 times a game. But I'm going to kind of, instead of who I want in the All-Star game, it's who I want in the home run derby. Cal Raleigh, 31 bombs, MLB record for most first half home runs by a catcher of all time. And they still have about 2 weeks to go. Lock. Aaron Judge, lock. Ohtani, lock. It's in Atlanta. Acuna Jr., lock. I want Paul Schwarber there because being a Philly in that ballpark, he's going to get booed. He's going to be energized to respond. That's going to be some entertainment right there. Eugenio Suarez, 25 home runs, 5th in Major League Baseball. He's got to be there. The Nationals, James Wood has been crushing some home runs. I think if you put him in the home run derby in that ballpark, especially the left-handed bat, it's got a chance to really get casual fans to notice the power that he has off the bat. And then to feed off the Schwarber thing, give me the polar bear. Put Pete Alonso there because I just want to see all the Atlanta fans going against him and Schwarber, booing them, hating the Mets, hating the Phillies, and obviously Wood being a Nationals player. Just having that going to add some extra juice to that ballpark because you're going to have almost 95% Braves fans in that ballpark, and you're going to have that energy really building, and it's going to become an entertainment spectacle that we haven't seen in a long time. Not only can the guys mash, but having the crowd reaction to being on the rival ball club is going to be a lot of fun. Now, speaking of entertainment energy, March 2026, the World Baseball Classic comes back around. Team USA. Right now, we're seeing Mark DeRosa put together the team. He's only announced 2 players, Aaron Judge and Paul Skeens. We, on the Power Alley podcast, are going to build our own Team USA, and we've been adding players to the list as we move forward, 1 pitcher and 1 hitter at a time. So far, we have Aaron Judge, Paul Skeens, Zach Wheeler, Kyle Schwarber, Mookie Betts, Josh Hader, Bobby Witt Jr., Griffin Jacks, Nolan Arenado, and Jason Adam. Got a couple of relief pitchers in there who are studs. And that brings us to our 2 we're going to add today. He can really manage the pitching game and work with the pitchers. Great job in the framing perspective. but he can also mash with 31 home runs. You put him behind the dish there. It's the entire staff, put him in the middle lineup. It's going to be like softball time. And then look, starting pitchers are still going to be ramping up. It's going to be in March. They're not going to be fully ready to go. You're going to need to have some stud relief pitchers ready to rock and roll and help out down the stretch, especially early on. That's why I'm putting in Mason Miller from the Athletics. Stud closer, has a lot of heat behind that, a lot of great movement on his fastball and his cutter. Put Mason Miller on this team. Another stud arm in this bullpen for Mark DeRosa and Team USA. So those are who we've added today. We'll add 2 more if we keep going forward until we have a full 26-man roster. But Team USA trying to get back to win the championship there in the World Baseball Classic. And with our deep drive to left, we're going to look at the power rankings. Right now, it's still the Tigers in first, 49 wins. Dodgers second, Phillies third, Cubs fourth, Yankees fifth. Mets have fallen to sixth. Giants are at seventh. And then 3 teams, I'm going to talk about these 3 teams here. The Astros at 8, the Rays at 9, the Brewers at 10. Now, the reason why I put all these 3 together is when the Brewers were starting to come up, the Rays were doing really well and the Astros were doing well. And they were doing because they drafted and developed, they found reclamation projects, and they weren't big budget teams, but their organizational structure is what the Brewers noticed. And they took scouting directors and front office personnel from both these franchises. And that's where the Brewers really took off and made that run and sort of got themselves a very consistent period. We won the division, made the playoffs a lot lately. David Stearns came from the Astros, but they brought a bunch of guys over from the Rays. It's like, how do we develop our pitchers? How do we develop our own pitching lab? How do we maximize young and up-and-coming players and draft better? Find those diamonds in the rough, because we're not going to be able to pay for free agents. We need to be able to develop a sustainable professional franchise that will win every single year and be in the conversation every single year. We don't want 100 lost seasons anymore. These 3 teams have been in the playoff conversations and in that wild card hunt or playing for the division title, I would say in the last decade, more than often than not. And you got to give a shout out to the way that these 3 organizations run. Yes, the Astros probably a little bit more than the Rays and the Brewers, but all 3 of them built the same way. They've been developed the same way, knowing how to get pitchers, knowing how to develop pitchers, using pitchers, find the right kind of players, maximizing their service time, knowing when to trade them, very smart and savvy movements to really keep the organization healthy. So all 3 of these organizations, I'm going to give you from that perspective major props, because here you are once again, always in contention, playing great baseball. You're not going to get all the flash. The Astros obviously had their scandal with banging the drums and all that stuff, but you're not going to get all the flash as everybody else. The New Yorks, Chicagos, the LAs. But the 3 of y'all are still there every single year, year in and year out, consistent with good bullpens, solid pitching depth, and finding guys to develop as fielders who can just plug and play good defense and steal bases and get timely hits. So 3 major props to the Astros, Rays, and Brewers. You're at my 8, 9, and 10. Bottom 5, Rockies are the worst, White Sox, Pirates, Marlins, and then the Athletics finally joined the bottom 5. They're on a downward trend recently, but really they're a minus 127 run differential, which is absolutely horrible. They've got to find some pitching there at Oakland, / formerly Oakland, Sacramento, or just the Athletics, or as of today, they broke ground on Vegas, so maybe the soon-to-be Vegas Athletics. But the minus 127 run differential is just painful, and that pitching staff has got to be helped out. Don't have too many bets right now, but if you're looking, hit over-under props. I'm going to continue pushing that. Shohei, Jacob Wilson of the Athletics, Cal Raleigh, Judge, Acuna Jr. Those 5 are usually pretty consistent and get some hits. So keep working with them, be mindful of them, maybe pair them with the team to win a ball game and have a run of parlay from that perspective. Thanks for hanging around. We have some final thoughts. It was a long episode today. A lot going on in the baseball world. Remember, we're connected to Spinnable Sports Network. You can find us on all podcast platforms as well as the Spinnable Sports YouTube channel. I'm Fresh. You can find me on Twitter or X, or however you want to call it, at SS_2Fresh. I'm a contributor to SpinnableSports.com and a co-host of our flagship podcast, The Irrational Confidence Podcast. You can find that also on Twitter at IR Confidence Pod. And if you're looking for more, at Spinnable Sports, you can find at Spinnable Sports on Twitter, and as well as SpinnableSports.com and the Spinnable Sports YouTube channel. A lot more baseball coming at you. Next time we probably pull up, we'll talk about the All-Star break and who made the All-Star teams, who was deserving, who was a snub. And obviously we'll look in more of the draft and where guys fell. But until then, keep hitting up ballparks, keep watching games, keep enjoying baseball. It's perfect time right now. There's a lot of great races, a lot of great players. Enjoy every second of it, and we'll keep moving forward. We'll catch you next time with more chatter in the Power Alley. Bye, y'all.